All right, welcome back to the best damn training channel on YouTube. Today, week 2 of the Strictly Strength program. We're gonna be doing squats. We're gonna be doing snatches, RDLs, an overhead press variation, walking lunges. We got some core work today, and essentially all the same movements that you guys saw last week on this day, but we're gonna be progressing it, trying to push it a little bit more, heavier on the snatches, heavier on the back squats, pretty much heavier on everything all around. So I'm gonna go ahead, lace up the kicks, put some blocks down on the ground because I'm gonna be starting off with the snatches, and then we'll get to the warm up on the snatches, build up to something that's gonna be somewhere around 75-ish% today on the power snatches from the block. I'm gonna get ready and then we're gonna get after it. All right, for the snatches today, what I'm looking at trying to get to is my working sets to be around 105 to 115. If everything feels good today, we're gonna build up towards 115. But as long as I'm getting my sets done within that range, we're gonna count all the reps in there as the working sets for today. So a slight progression from last week. I think last week I went from like 90 to 100. So we're gonna go 105 up to 115 today. And then next week, we'll probably do some really heavy sets to try to figure out kind of close to like where a top end number is on the snatch right now. But I'm warming up, gonna build up towards that 105 number. And then once we get to 105, we'll start counting those sets. Okay, I went 70, 90, and now we're at 105. So we're gonna count this as working set number 1. Gonna do at least 2 sets here, just to feel it out. And then if we jump up, probably go 110, do 1 to 2 sets there. If it feels good, we'll jump up to 115 and do our last 2 sets on that. So I wanna do 6 total sets today on this. So we'll start at the 105 and just feel it out and build up as we go. So I'm gonna take the mic off because it's been flopping around a little bit too much. Those felt crispy. All right, we're gonna go up to 110. Those felt good. A little bit of a forward jump on that last rep, but I'm still counting those as pretty crispy. So we'll go up to 110, do at least 2 sets there, and make a decision if we're gonna go all the way up to 115 today. Also crispy. I can tell you right now, based on how that first set at 110 felt, we're definitely going to 115 for at least 1 set today. So if this is just as crispy as that first set, then we're gonna do 2 sets at 115 and see how that goes. All right, 115 on the bar. Gonna do 2 sets here. Everything up to this point has felt overall pretty good. I would say 9 out of 10 so far. There's been a couple reps where I felt like I was a little bit forward. I didn't feel like I really locked out hard overhead, and I'm trying to be a little bit more disciplined with kind of locking out and being still in that lockout position. So we're gonna focus on that at this 115, but we'll do 2 sets, 3 reps on this, and then we're gonna move on to the back squat. That one was ugly. All right, first rep was very ugly. So fixed it, rep 2 and 3. We're gonna do 1 more set on that. All right, snatches are done. Now it's time to move on to the back squats. All right, the plan for the back squats, top set of 8 at around an 8 RPE, no heavier than 8 RPE. So if we're like between 7 and 8, that's fine, but we're not gonna go heavier than what I feel like is gonna be an 8 RPE. Then we're gonna drop the weight down a little bit, and we're gonna do our working sets at 8 today. So we got 4 extra sets of 8 after that. So 5 total sets of 8 today. So we'll be building up as we go. Last week, my top set of 8 was a 185 kilos. And I think like that was between a 6 and a 7. So somewhere between a 7 and an 8 today, probably looking at like in the 190s, maybe top end, close to 200 on the top set there. We're gonna take 15% off of whatever that top set is, and we're gonna do our working sets based off of that. So we're gonna take some time here, build up to that top set, and then we'll just see where we end up at. So when I am going through any period of training where I have a lot of volume, what I like to do with my warm-up sets is try to not add a substantial amount of volume on top of that. So if I'm warming up to try to do a top set of 8, and I need to be at an 8 RPE, all my warm-up sets don't need to be sets of 8. Like I can warm up with sets of 5, and I can feel whether or not I'm still got a really good amount of repetitions left in me. So as you're building up, especially when you're at like 50%, 60%, 70%, like you don't need to be doing a set of 8, a set of 8, a set of 8, a set of 8, and then start your first working set of 8 after that. You can warm up with 5s, and then 5s, and then 5s, and then as you get close to what you think your top set's gonna be, maybe do 1 set of 8 prior to that to give yourself a really good range on where you think you might be at, but you don't wanna be doing a whole lot of volume prior to that when you still have a lot of volume left over. So as I'm working up to this top set of 8, I'm generally gonna be doing sets of 5, probably till I get somewhere close to what my top set was last week. I might do a 6, and to see if I still got an extra 2 reps in me, and then add a little bit of weight and build up to that first set of 8. So ideally, when I'm building up to my top set, I only wanna do 1 to 2 sets of 8, and one of those is going to end up being my top set. So if we're looking at warm-up sets, I'm looking at maybe 1 warm-up set of 8 prior to doing what I feel like my actual top set might be. All right, a couple minute break here. We'll jump up to 180, do our set of 8 on that, and then that will give me a good range on what I think the top end is gonna be for the day. All right, I'm gonna do like 6 on this, see how that 6 feels. And I think doing 6 and knowing like, okay, I got at least 2 good reps on me, probably 3 to 4 good reps in me at that 6. That'll give me a good estimate on where I think I should make a jump to next, because I think I'm gonna go 180, and then I'm probably gonna go 190, and I'll do that and figure out if that 190 is gonna be my set of 8, and that might be a while the bar's on my back, make that decision type thing. Or if it's feeling really, really good, that by the time I get to about 6 reps on that again, I might re-rack it and add a little bit more weight on this. All right, I have a pretty good feeling this is gonna be my top set. We got a top set at 190. We got our back off sets at 160. And we're gonna do 4 sets of 8 here. I'm probably just gonna show y'all one because you don't need to see me do another 32 back squats. But we'll do 4 sets, 8 repetitions on this. Slight progression from last week. I think my sets of 10 last week were at 150. So we're going 8s at 160. So it's a good progression from week to week. All right, I'm gonna do 3 more sets of that, but next up, we're gonna do a little bit more snatch accessory work to kind of work on that overhead lockout position. All right, next up is a snatch grip overhead press from behind the neck. So I'm gonna be doing the same variation that I did last week and go from a seated position just to give my legs a little break after doing a lot of squats. So again, elbows underneath the bar so you can press this bar up overhead. So this was my working weight from last week. So I'm probably gonna add another 5 kilos on this today and we'll be at 40 kilos. So we'll go from 30 kilos last week, doing our sets of 8. We'll jump up to 40 kilos this week, do our sets of 8, and then we're gonna move on to a snatch grip RDL, and we're gonna load that up a little bit heavier today compared to where we were at last week. So I'm gonna throw on some 10s. All right, first set of 8 here. All right, that's gonna be a good working weight for today. So I'm gonna do 2 more sets of this, and then we're gonna move on to the snatch grip RDL. Try to load that up today. I think last week I was at like 70 kilos because I knew it was gonna kind of blow me up doing all those squats, and it did. I paid for it. I complained about it on I think 2 or 3 different videos last week, how sore my legs were. So we'll try to load that up somewhere around 100 kilos today. Go a little bit heavier on those. I don't anticipate the same amount of soreness that I had last week. That initial period of like delayed onset muscle soreness happens throughout that first week. This second week, I don't anticipate that soreness to be at the same level. There might be a little soreness there, but if anything, there's gonna be more just general fatigue. Like you're gonna feel like you're a little bit tired, feel like you're a little bit flat, rather than having that soreness, because that adaptation to the volume took place over the course of the first week. Now we're trying to progress that a little bit, go a little bit heavier, but that soreness from volume specifically shouldn't be happening on week 2. So we'll load things up a little bit more throughout this week, go a little bit heavier, because I don't anticipate that soreness to be here. So 2 more sets on this. Snatch grip RDL is coming up next. Snatch grip RDL, 100 kilos on the barbell. I'm only doing 2 sets of this. Even though this block of training is focused on volume, trying to get a lot of reps in, we're gonna be like that 75 to 80% number for the most part throughout the course of this first 3 weeks. I'm only doing 2 sets on the accessory stuff because I'm still being a little bit mindful of the total amount of volume that I'm gonna do. And I'd rather err on the side of caution and do too little and have the next week to be able to progress that than programming 3 or 4 sets of things and then feeling like I've done too much and the next week have to regress that. So for the first 2 weeks here, I've done 2 sets on the RDLs. I did 2 sets on the walking lunges, which I'm gonna do after this. Next week is going to be a heavier week. So if I end up overextending myself, and let's say I do 3 sets on this and then 3 sets on the lunges as well, it's okay because I have a deload following that and I should be able to recover from that. So for the first part of this, I've been a little bit more conservative, only programming a couple sets on the RDLs, a couple sets on the lunges, Later this week when we do the leg extensions and some other accessory stuff, we got only 2 sets on that because I want to be a little bit more cautious as we're building up the volume rather than just starting off week 1 and week 2 doing, let's say, 20 to 30 reps on multiple exercises and accumulating a ton of volume on those other exercises and creating a little bit too much fatigue. So that's why I'm a little bit more cautious with the accessory stuff, only doing a couple sets on these. But 100 kilos, did 70, felt really light, so I feel like 100 kilos is gonna be good. 6 total reps on the sets here. Ooh. Ooh. Whew. 2 sets of that. And then we're gonna go out and do some walking lunges. I am gonna progress this, and we're gonna use dumbbells on the walking lunges, because last week I did body weight only on that because I knew I was gonna be sore. This week, we're gonna put some dumbbells on there, load it up a little bit. So we'll go back out into the hallway. We'll do a couple sets of those. We'll finish off with some core work, and then that's gonna be a solid ass day for week 2, lower body, day 1 on the Strictly Strength program. All right, I'm back out in the hallway. I'm gonna be using dumbbells today for the walking lunges. One thing I'm gonna be focusing on as I'm doing my lunges is allow that upper body to kind of rotate as I'm taking that deep step forward. And that way I can get a little bit more of the hip involved and get a little bit more stretch through the glute as I stand myself back up. So when you're doing a walking lunge, you don't wanna just be stiff as a board, upright, walking and trying to press through. When you're gonna load this up, allow that chest to kind of come over whatever leg is out in front, get a good stretch through the hip, you'll get a good stretch through the quad as well, and then stand up using that front leg as much as you can. So what it would look like is, rather than being stiff as a board and just trying to do walking lunges in this position here, what you wanna do is allow yourself to kind of rotate through, try to keep this knee pointing forward as you get here, but allow yourself to kind of rotate and fall over that leg and then press up through. Rotate, fall over the opposite leg, and press up through. You'll feel that a lot more through the glute as you do that as well. So I'm not going super heavy with the dumbbells. I'll load up the dumbbells next week. I just got 10 kilos in each hand, so about 22 pounds in each hand looking here. But we're looking at big step. That's 5, we'll go back 5, so we'll do 10 steps on each side. One more on each side. I think that was 4. All right, again, 2 sets on that. Then we got some ab work to do. We're gonna do the ab wheel again, and that's gonna be it for today's session. So we'll finish off with the abs here, but I appreciate you guys for watching. If you like what you see here, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.